bless you. My name is Brother Stephen Tutani. I am from Zimbabwe in Southern Africa. I work at the Voice of God office there. And I'm just going to give you a brief outline of what the Lord is doing down in our part of the world. It certainly has been an honor to be a part of this work. But really, when I was born, my dad had already been working for Voice of God for about 8 years. I remember from them early days him working with the books and translations and distributions, and I never knew I was going to be a part of the work the way the Lord has worked it out. But I drew a lot from him because I did see how dedicated he was.
It really then, the work exploded from there. We now had a recording studio, we now had more offices and a big warehouse, so we could house more material, we could do recordings. From that time on, I could say that the responsibilities grew exponentially. I started working at Voice of God in 2011, so just in the few years I've been working there, there's been a lot of things that have changed as far as with the distribution and how to get the word out to the people. As we all know, the vision and burden has been to always give the bride everything, every recording and every translation that is available. But there are many challenges that were, before us, true as Voice of God, and I can speak specifically for our country, Zimbabwe, and our people. We had the books and tapes before, but nobody had the whole library. Our office even didn't have the whole library from 1947 to 65, every single tape. And the people in Africa, as you all know, are very missionary minded. So they'll go into a place and there's more and more believers who are giving their hearts to the Lord. So the demand for food was growing. So it's been awesome to see how the Lord has made a way to get this word into the hands of the people. As Brother Branham says, this message will land into the hands of the predestinated. First real distribution trips I started to go on was right at the end when we were starting to get less of the books and more of the SD cards. And that was huge because before, with the books, bringing in big containers, for example, a 40-foot container into Zimbabwe, besides the duties and fees, they would charge us for the weight of the container. So if you have a 40-ton worth of books, that's just $40,000 in fees, in duties. You're not in making the books or distributing them, just in giving the revenue authority. And that really was a big hump, if you will, challenge. And once the books got there, we had to box them, keep them in the warehouse, and then start feeding our seed libraries, our full libraries. And then you take them more into the rural areas. They don't have conditions that can guarantee the continuity of the books. Maybe it's humid, maybe their hut leaks, and as the rain comes down, you can't keep everything dry. Maybe the flood come in and the books didn't last that long. Even from reading and changing hands, they would get tattered and torn over a while, and you had to replace them over the years. So that was a huge challenge as far as with getting the word out now to the people. You could only carry so much in a truck. It wouldn't even be maybe 4 years worth of messages. So when the SD cards then touched the ground in Zimbabwe, it was a much anticipated time. And it was revolutionary, but still there were challenges, and some of them were, yes, they were portable, and yes, the people could use them. Now they could put them in their phones, and it's a lot more accessible, if you will. But the moment you place that SD cards in the hands of the people, you knew for a fact that they're not going to be able to have the translation that you're going to have to translate next week. This is awesome, but I'm going to have to come back. And you've just distributed here, but the whole country's crying, and it's like, we need it. With everything else in the past, with giving them cassettes, they needed a cassette player. Giving them, CDs with the Lighthouse Project that came in, which was huge because, missionaries and ministers and churches and homes got the MP3 package with the radio and the books. But you still needed a player for whatever you were handing them. If you give them an SD card, they needed to have a tablet or a phone. But as time rolled on, it became more and more pressing that, this is awesome, but is there another way?
Everything's on there. You don't need to have a player. It plays the sermons that are on it. And so that's brought a lot of joy to the believers in Zimbabwe. And Satan always fights. For example, before we left for one of the latest trips that we were on right before we came over, just that week, some of the people who were supposed to go with us on that trip fell ill, sick, bedridden, couldn't go. And we had an extremely dry spell of gas and diesel in our country. You couldn't find it. And there was long queues, and you couldn't guarantee that you were going to make the trip, but we'd already made the arrangements to go there, and the people were waiting in anticipation. And right by Voice of God, there's this big underground electricity cable that's never had a problem, but that week it sputtered and something went wrong, and then I think part of it was severed off underground, and we didn't have power at the office. So it means we couldn't charge the tablets, we couldn't update the tablets before we left. We still have to fight to get gas, and the day that we were supposed to leave, and we're going to have the meeting in the evening, and we're going to go on a 7-hour drive way out in the country. It's not the nicest and smoothest of roads either, so you don't know what you're going to meet, and you don't know if it's going to take 7 hours or more. But it dawned, and we're still fighting with the power issue and updating tablets, and we still didn't have gas for one of the vehicles that we were going to go with, and we didn't know what was going to happen, how we were going to make it, but we're just like, this is proof that the enemy's fighting, so there's a blessing beyond this. I left the office that morning. I just prayed. It's like, Lord, you gotta have to help us. And drove out less than a mile from the office. There's a filling station that's relatively new, and there happened to be gas there, and there was a short queue, so I had to wait in line for it. So later they're like, well, the only pump that we can pump gas for you is going to be in the back of the property. So we went there to get the gas, and they had a lock on the gas pump, and they couldn't find the key to it, so we couldn't get the gas. Oh wow, that was awesome. So we took a crowbar basically and just ripped that lock off, and we with the help of the people at the filling station, obviously we did not vandalizing the place, but then we filled up the truck, and then because the one car was diesel, the other one was gas, so the one we had diesel before, so that had to leave before and kind of be like an advance party, if you will, and not have the people waiting. So we left and everything just pieced together awesome, beautifully. We were able to get there on time, and the believers couldn't wait when they got there. The excitement, man, it's contagious. It makes you excited, And we told them, remember, we were here with the SD cards, and we told you about the tablets and so forth. It's like, they're here. Just erupt. They're spontaneous and they're ululating and singing, and it's once it dies down, then you can say the next thing, right? It's awesome and so inspiring to see the faith of the people in the Word. It's to me, it just reminds me of that woman who her baby had died, and she went and found Elijah, and he asked, "Is all well with thee?" And she knew, because I've arrived where the prophet is. All is well. All is well. And for them, it's so simple that I have the Word now. I'm set. Somebody faithful. Thank God Zimbabwe has been blessed with a lot of faithful men who've taken the word out, missionaries to those places, and told them God sent a prophet, and he told us to say what that tape says, and just so the people know who Brother Branham is. They know his place, but it's now we need the food. It's got to get to the people. So when you get there, they already know what to expect, and so when they take it and start listening to it, it's the faith is there, the expectation is there, and the results show. And it's so awesome to see the jubilation and the spontaneous praise, if you will. As soon as you hand this tablet to this old sister, she starts going off and singing and showing her, just can't hide her joy. It's finally I can hear Malachi 4. Behold, I sent you, Elijah the prophet. So God sent Elijah to me. And the days of the voice. Now I can hear the voice.
All these on tape, Lord, is listen to the voice at this time. Many different languages even be translated. May they understand.
We were in a place in Zimbabwe called Mberengwa. So right before we gave out the tablets, it was at a little rural center, little place there that all the believers were, and it was alive, man. The people were singing on the top of their lungs and just under so much expectation, and they couldn't hide their joy and excitement. And like I said, it's contagious, And so I was reading a quote that's on the Agapo video, Brother Branham praying at the end of Influences.
In little houses, and out in little jungles in Africa, with those little machines, with the tubes in their ears.
It was so awesome. Right after I finished reading that, you know how it is, the table appears on your phone. The date code is right up top. So I looked at the date code and it said 640315. It was preached on the 15th of March, 1964. And here we were, 55 years later to the day, 15 March 2019, in a little house in the jungles of Africa, giving them little machines that they were going to hear translated, just as Brother Branham was saying that quote, with the tubes in their ears. And I can't explain the presence that just came down in that room after that quote, and realizing that it's preached today, 55 years ago. This is prophecy in motion right now here in this building. And just people just went spontaneous into prayer. And it was such a powerful anointing of the Holy Ghost in there. Just the word is alive. It's living. It's not just words, it's a life. And in the appointed season, it manifests itself. And here we were, just the living word, moving, And so after that, the believers just piled outside, got their tablets, and they're singing and dancing in the rain. They didn't care, and just singing to the Lord and ululating and waving their tablets, babies on the back. And it was like a jubilee, celebration. And for them, it's not like, well, for us, I would say it's not shallow. It's not like I'm happy because I have a tablet, just the object. It's what's on it. And it's the realization that faith comes by hearing the word. So I could only hear so much of the word before, and it got me by. But now I have all the word, and I can hear all of it. How much is my faith gonna grow? And so then the testimonies follow. I knew we did translation work at VGR, as one of the things we did. But it didn't really hit me how important it was until we went to Malawi for the dedication of the Voice of God office there. And on the Sunday, we had an open house on Saturday, and on Sunday we had all the churches in Blantyre came together, and we were in this big stadium. I think it's called Kamuzu Stadium in Blantyre, Malawi. And we had thousands of believers in there. And we had wonderful singing. Malawians sing awesome. Tape, Be Certain of God. And while we were listening to that tape, Brother Branham would say something and start off like, and it reads like this, and Elijah the Tishbite, and then he would go on and tell the story, and then he would say something that would really bless you, and you'd say amen, but the whole stadium would be quiet, except for a few people who understood what he said. Very few people. So then the translator would come, and it'd be like, roar! The whole stadium would be in uproar, like the rafters were going to come off. And then it died down. And Brother Branham would say that, something else, and it's like dead quiet. And the translator would come in, mulungu, this, and it's like, and he dies down. And at the end, he says, have you and eat today, is the money so low that you can't pay your rent, you want to buy shoes for your children or feed for your animals. And he says, if you want to remember anybody, he says, stand to your feet. And nobody stood their feet except a few people who were around the area where, some of the visitors or maybe one or two of the ministers who understand English. And everybody stayed seated. And then the translator would come in and say, no. And the whole stadium was shuffle. Everybody standing their feet. And with each phrase, it was just being pounded to me that so if somebody had not taken the trouble to sit down and translate this message from the manuscript, staying exactly with what the prophet said, all these thousands of people seated in the stadium would have never heard Be Certain of God, would never have understood what Brother Branham was saying. No way. It's like, this is important. This is really important. We got to do this. And this is God's prophet. Hello. This is the one man that God sent with the message to call out a bride. Everybody's got to hear it. This is our eternal destination. It's like the whole world's going to perish, but God sent a prophet with the word for the day to call out a bride from the confusion. Absolutely, they have to hear it. And it's got to be the best translation possible, that's as close as possible to what he said, because the eternal destination depends on it, you know? So it hit me like a light bulb. It's just clicked. And I didn't know I was going to be involved deeply with translation work after that. And so each time I do a translation or I'm in the studio recording, I see those faces, I see those people, and it's like, yeah, awesome. Now they have the seals. Because before it was like you could listen to Uniting Time and Sign, and Brother Branham's talking about, since the seals, this happened. Well, we have a reference point because we listen to the seals. They don't know what he's talking about. They don't know there's a white horse rider, a red horse rider, a black horse rider. But as the translations keep coming, each translation is a new message. You know how it was back in the day where they would be like, we have 10 new cassettes, you know, or 50 new sermons that have never been heard before. And it's like, I gotta have them. I gotta listen to them. And it's the exact same thing with every translation. It's a new tape for a certain group of people. And they get to hear more of what God's prophet said in this day and age. So it excites me that way when a new translation go out, especially in our language, because it's people that you know and you can relate to. And that's another, like I said, my favorite feature about the tablet is before it would take months and years for translation to get to them. With the SD cards coming, it's like once you gave them to them, they'll still be short. Within a month, they'll need another SD card because there's one or two more sermons in that language. But with the tablet, everybody becomes a distributor and everybody can get it. She can get it and distribute to that one and that one and that one and that one, and it spreads that much faster. So it's really exciting to see what the Lord has been doing for the people and things that we've not been able to do in a long time. Being that, for example, VGR printed about 206 million spoken word books, but from 2014 to 2018, for example, we had distributed books on SD cards that are in excess of 265 million, something that we were not able to do within over 30 years. We were able to do in 4 years with the SD card, and now it's like the options are even growing a lot more with the tablet. It's like it's not just the text, it's the text and the audio. When you get that update, you get the translated sermon on your tablet. So there's still a lot of work to be done. Like Brother Branham says, the hour is late and the need is great.
Lord, answer prayer. Let them be certain this morning that you are God. And it's your spirit.
It's awesome to see what the Lord has done through Voice of God and through Brother Joseph, and how it's just when Brother Branham was reading in the Bible about Joseph in Genesis and what he did, he had that dream about there was going to be famine, and this is what needs to be done. And Pharaoh's like, who else can I put in charge of this? You're the one who gave the interpretation. It's like, you're going to be in charge of it. And over the 7 years of plenty, they stored everything up, and then when the famine came, that was the only place you could find nourishment. And when he was reading that, God told Brother Branham, I'm going to give you a Joseph. And here we are today, decades later. Like Amos says, there's going to be a hunger in the world, not of food or drink, but of hearing the words of the Lord. Everybody's searching for the truth. But God stored it up and gave Brother Branham and Joseph, who's now has raised granaries in the different cities and towns and countries around the world, just to give this word out to the people. And selfless people who have been sponsoring these tablets and supporting this work. And many times I wish some of these people would just charter a big plane and bring everybody over to see what's going on firsthand. It's precious, and can't wait to see what else the Lord has in store for our country. And but He definitely has the program, and many times the little things, just like that day, how it was exactly to the day 55 years ago, Brother Branham had talked about that, and here we were doing exactly that. The Lord is doing a great work. We feel it's going to be a short, quick work, but while it lasts, we want to do the best that we can, and press on together with the believers around the world. Everybody's got a part to play. Some of them are making tablets right now at Voice of God. Some of them are sponsoring. Some of them are praying. Some of them around the world doing different things. But God's great machine is working, and it's an honor to be a part of the work. And see what God is doing in our day. But until He comes, we will work until Jesus comes.